Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 387 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Aniston. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the latest in theaters, Mission Impossible 7, No Hard Feelings, and The Flash, as well as the Netflix release Extraction 2, Renfield, and In the Name of the King, Dungeon Siege. That's that Jason Statham movie that came out about a decade and a half ago, but this is a director's cut. Yeah, We Bowl film. You know, we're big Bowl fans. We interviewed him a while back. You can check that out on Movie Mavericks, but we're going to talk about the director's cut of that, as well as the trailers for the last voyage of the Demeter? How do we say this? Is
Demeter?
it Demeter?
Yeah.
All right, it's Demeter. And Champions. Or is it Challenge? No, it's Challengers.
Challengers.
I want to call it. I'm giving them too much praise.
It's that Woody Allen movie that, not Woody Allen, good Lord, Woody Harrelson movie that came out not too long ago.
You're right. That would have been Champions.
You were talking about Woody Allen earlier. Got me.
This is the Zendaya film that we're talking about now. So that's going to be Challengers, as well as Haunting in Venice, the latest Kenneth Branagh Hercules Poirot entry. So a lot to talk about tonight. But first, as we do, it's going to be a little bit of trivia. Trevor, fire up that trivia machine you got over there.
All right. Each thief is assigned a color as a code name in the film Reservoir Dogs. Which color is Quentin Tarantino's character assigned? Pink, yellow, brown, or black?
Guys, is it yellow?
Mr.
I thought it was yellow. Yellow or brown? Pink. It's not pink because that's Buscemi's bullshit.
It's not black.
No, that's Madison. I want to say.
Yeah. I would. I'm
gonna venture to say yellow. Okay, I'm gonna stick with yellow as well.
No. Nope, it was brown.
Sons of bitches! How do we not know this? This is right in our fucking wheelhouse too.
I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs in forever.
It's true. I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in a long time. I've been meaning to revisit that.
Yeah, that is actually one that I've been looking at as well. We'll have to do a retro at some point.
All right, what else we got? Got another one?
George Raft and Humphrey Bogart play brothers in this film. Bogey loses a hand in an automobile accident. We got High Sierra, They Drive by Night, The Hand, or The Harder They Fall. I got no friggin' idea, actually.
Oh, man. It's not The Harder They Fall. I'm going to just guess and say High Sierra. It's one of the first two.
Nope. It is They Drove by Night. Maggie Carpenter is a woman with the terrible habit of running out on her grooms on their wedding day and runaway bride. How many men has she run out on in the start of the film? 4, 3, 5, or none of these?
My initial was 7, and then I thought 4, and then you said 4. Oh, let's go 4. I'm getting crushed tonight anyways.
4. Nope. It was 3.
This is some bullshit tonight. We're not stopping until we get a win.
We got a real low number on this one. Let's try this. We got number 56. All right. What is the only film in which Julia Roberts, interesting, has appeared with her brother Eric Roberts?
Blood Red.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Do you know why I know this? I got to tell you a story. Because a kid
ding, ding, ding.
That I went to... I got to tell you a story why I know this, though. A kid that I went to elementary school with was in that movie playing as an extra, and he danced with Julia Roberts in a scene. And that was his
Eric Roberts.
His big claim to fame was that he was in this movie called Blood Red with Julia Roberts before she was famous. Now, this is pre-internet, so you could never find this out. This movie was hard to find. But I always recalled that. So I remembered that's how I recall that movie, basically. Very strange story, but a kid I knew was in that movie.
Well, we got one finally.
Yeah, finally that paid off, you know, that peripheral knowledge of that movie after having that in my head for 35 years. Let's talk about some real films, and I want to talk with you about Extraction 2, because I know you weren't the biggest fan of Extraction 1. I thought I was kinder to it than you were. As I listened to our review before we got on here of the original one, you were pretty harsh on it. How's the second one shape up? Should I watch it? What's going on?
Like, I think, well, I feel like the first one, you probably would enjoy this. It's right on par with it. Again, it's just, it's like a video game. It's like watching a video game, It's very, I don't know, like, it doesn't draw me in very well. And with the long shot, this like a 20-minute long shot, just action, which should be cool, but it just feels like I'm watching someone play a video game.
I know these one-ers, these one-shot things are becoming very, very popular with the John Wick stuff, and really Scott Adkins made a direct-to-video movie that was just basically a one-shot. It does become a little monotonous. I appreciate the choreography. I mean, Oldboy was one of the best to do it, that sequence in that.
That's what you're watching after a while. Yeah, I know. I agree with you, because you're not watching story, though, after a while. You're just watching
a dance,
an action sequence. Yeah, and it's like, there's nothing happening here. I don't know about this character. I don't care about any of these characters. I could give a shit if this guy dies, if other people die. It just doesn't matter. Like, and it calls so much attention to itself. Like, it's just too cool, Like, doing a continuous shot nowadays, and it's not continuous, is a fucking joke with digital technology. It's not. You didn't do anything, You spent some time, figuring this out and executing it, sure, but it's nothing like what it would have been back in the day.
It's not Orson Welles' Touch of Evil with a 12.5-minute opening shot on film and choreography.
No, and there's plenty of long sequence shots like Spielberg does it all the time and stuff, but they're not this long. Like, this is abnormally long, and you feel it. And I know people have said good things about that, because then it makes you feel like you've been through all this action with these characters and stuff. Like, you feel tired after it gets over, but that's kind of an issue with me, is that I feel tired during it and I stop giving a shit.
You know what my analogy of this is, because the Wonder has become so ubiquitous in action films, is that it is today's version of the shaky cam that we had 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Every action film is trying to accomplish
so realistic
this.
Right now. It's so realistic. Look at it. And it literally feels to me like a video game, because this is how video games are. If you watch or play video games or do any of that, this is exactly how they play out. And it just, it's uninteresting to me. Like, in a video game setting, it makes a lot of sense because you're interacting with it. I'm not interacting with this. I'm just watching it, and I'm here to watch a story, and I'm not being told a story.
How did they bring him back? Wasn't his character dead? I mean, did I misread the first film's ending?
Yeah, so they just, like, hard to kill him, He just, like, fucking, he just works out a little bit, does his therapy, and he's fucking back, man.
Okay, so he was just hiding at the bottom of the ocean, waiting to be reawakened.
Yeah, he got hurt pretty bad, but a little bit of working out and stuff, and a little bit of this and that, and he's fine. He's good to go.
Yeah, I heard that's how it works usually. How do we like Hemsworth as an action hero? Is he still viable in the role? Do you still like him as a character?
I think he's likable, yeah. Like, by a lot more than a lot of people that came out of Marvel stuff. He certainly looks the role. I just don't like the direction, I guess, or the writing. I don't know what the hell it is, because it's just, I don't know. We'll talk a little bit about John Wick 4, because I feel like that's the same thing as this, like, where it kind of, you lose the point of the movie, or the point of the movie is just to have a bunch of action, which is, not that great to watch. It's like going and, it'll be like watching, like, hey, I have a kung fu movie for you, and then you watch it, and it's just like some guy, practicing kung fu for 2 hours. It's not that cool.
Well, it's like the old tournament movies.
Where's the story?
After a while, those direct-to-video kung fu tournament movies became all about fight scenes, in the ring, and nothing about the actual characters. And Bloodsport works, Rocky works, because you care about the characters as well as the action that's happening on screen.
Yeah.
So it sounds like I can skip this one and not be any worse off.
Yeah, as with most Netflix things, it's not worth it.
Do you know what seems very obvious to me, and I don't know what project they can do it, but they're both under contract with Netflix to some extent, but let's get a buddy movie with Wahlberg and Hemsworth. I think that would be decent chemistry.
That would actually be really good, yeah.
I think that, you got Peter Berg under contract over there. Let's get a script going, and I'm surprised they haven't matched
Yeah,
them
Peter
up
Berg
yet.
at Netflix?
Well, did Spencer Confidential over there, so I mean, he's done projects
It's been
for
a
them.
while since that.
I mean, I don't think he's had a project released though since that. Not that I can recall, at least.
What is Mark Wahlberg's not even in with Netflix anymore, is he?
Well, he just had that Kevin Hart film, The Me Time, that came out. That wasn't that long ago, right? That was last summer.
You're right. And that was Netflix, huh?
It was,
I can't remember if that was Netflix. I can't remember which ones they're on because he had that Infinite movie, and
that was
what,
Paramount because that was supposed to be a
say,
theatrical release that they dumped onto Paramount.
I know, but they're all interchangeable at this point. The theatrical and the streaming, they're all shit. So I don't.
They're underwhelming.
You know, what do you want me to do? They spend the same amount of money on them, pretty much.
Yeah, it's true. You're not
this
wrong.
is a big budget movie. This could play in a theater, no problem. Like Extraction 2, it seems ridiculous, but they're spending a lot of money on this. Realistically, if they had made these movies for less money and had forced these guys to do some artistic decisions and to do some stuff, where they had to make actual choices, it probably would be a lot better movie, or at least more interesting to watch.
What do you think? It's a problem of having too many resources?
100%. I think that's almost everything at this point. I think people need to bleed a little bit, and they're not at all bleeding.
Yeah, no hard choices are being made at any point. I mean, we used to have DVDs, Blu-rays come out where they had tons of deleted scenes on them. Now, all the deleted scenes are actually still in the theatrical cut, it feels like, which is why you're getting these running times.
Yeah.
Speaking of long movies, I saw Mission Impossible 7, a.k.a. Dead Reckoning Part 1, going against my own personal motto of never watching a movie that has a Part 1 or Part 2 in it, unless it's a true sequel like Rocky 2, Rocky
Mission
3.
Impossible, though.
I know, but this is a series that I think I love, right? I've seen them all in the theater.
Yeah.
I love Tom Cruise, and I'm really doing some hard thinking about this series after I saw this last one. And I gotta be honest with you, I think I love about 40% of the series. I like another 20%, and I dislike the remaining 40%. So I just the whole it goes 40 20 40 at this point. But it's a strange mix of the series because I am in the minority in that I love Part 2. I love the long hair, John Woo, doves flying, Hans Zimmer score. Everybody is gorgeous and the action is over the top and it's intense and thematic. Number 2 is my absolute favorite. After that, I really like Part 5. I don't know why I'm giving my rundown, but I am. And after that, I go number 1 and then I go 6, and then I probably put 7 and 4, meaning that Fallout, which I didn't love.
3?
Oh, 3 I forgot about. Yeah, 3 somewhere in the middle
That can't
rungs.
be last. It certainly can't be worse than Fallout.
It's in the middle
Or
rungs.
not.
It's Fallout's
Fallout's
better.
number 4.
Yeah,
right?
Fallout is above it, and so is this. I mean,
Is it? Fallout's fucking terrible.
The thing is this: compared to this, Fallout is a lot better of a movie. This is a movie.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm telling you, Trevor, this movie is too dense.
That can't be true.
This is a movie that just to get to. I'm not spoiling anything for anybody.
Sounds like a James Bond problem.
It is. They have a James Bond problem here, and I want to get to that in a second. But let me tell you this, just to exemplify what's going on here. The opening credit scroll doesn't come for over 30 minutes into this movie. We don't get to light the fuse until almost 40 minutes into this fucking movie. I'm not kidding.
No.
I'm telling you, it's so bizarre. This movie starts with this
You get a first act before you get the fucking...
Oh, dude, I was checked out before
credits?
the fucking opening credits started. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long run. And, there's no real antagonist this time. It's this AI thing called the Entity. The personification of a villain is Isai Morales, who whispers and is underplaying his role because he's so dastardly, but it comes off as almost comical, like Pistachio Domingo in The Master of Disguises. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on with this. And then you have the typical, I mean, it's getting to a point where you have to have the obligatory characters check in, give them a random task. There's too much going on in that there's multiple, it's okay if you have one sequence where there's multiple actions going on and the characters are working in conjunction. But at this point, it's overloading the audience, and there's so much pontification happening. Maybe it wants us to do this. Maybe it really wants us to think it wants us to do that. But what if it really wants us to think that we thought we did this? I felt like I was watching The Matrix Part 2. Excuse me. I'm kicking things over. I'm so mad. But I was
angry.
I was thinking that I was watching, it's almost like that scene in The Matrix 2 where they have to sit down with the creator, where you just start scratching your head and going, this is more work than it's worth. And it's punctuated by these extended sequences of action, very similar to what you're talking about, where you get to the point where by the time he does the parachute jump, I was tuned out, and I felt like it was kind of blasé. And I hate to say that, but the final sequence on this train, why do the Mission Impossible movies always include a fucking train? But anyways, this train situation...
Well, I thought that was a callback, right?
It has to be.
For this one, is it not?
It would be if it was a 20-minute sequence, but this thing goes on for an hour. Okay? I'm not kidding. It goes on for an hour. He's on this fucking train. So that's a large chunk of the movie that's taking place in a visually uninteresting setting that it's punctuated by a few things of action. And I'm starting to feel tired for Tom Cruise. He deserves to make other movies at this point. I love his action stuff. I love
He's failed.
He has to go back to doing some other stuff at this point.
To what? Jack Reacher's dead. The Mummy's dead. The Mummy was dead on arrival. Think about how much stuff is absolutely dead. I mean, Top Gun is dead. Not because it wasn't good, but because there's no more story there to be told.
Right. I agree.
I think Tom Cruise might be screwed. If this is no good, as you say, if this has the James Bond problem, which is that James Bond did not stop world building. Those damn Daniel Craig movies started off so great because it was just fucking James Bond, and then it went nothing but world building. Just the Daniel Craig James Bond. Look at this, and he does this, and it's like his past is like this, and these people are like, oh, blah blah. That's why I say, I don't give a fuck.
Trevor, you're explaining to me the first act of this movie, because now we're talking about
this is
something
escaped this up until now. I thought number 4. Which the reason I think that's the worst Mission Impossible, maybe not anymore, but is because it fell into this trap where it tried to create Ethan Hunt as just the coolest fucking dude ever, which is nonsense.
He wasn't vulnerable in 4.
It righted itself in the next 2. It righted itself, and now you're telling me it's fallen into this crack of like. It thinks it's too big, which is what Tom Cruise has done with those Jack Reacher movies, and he did it with the fucking Mummy too. They're too big. For what those stories are.
Too much story. In the pursuit of being story as king, it's too much story. You've overstuffed, and now the audience, you don't have the time to keep up with this movie in that it wants you, it's too exact, it's too all over the place, and really it's not interesting to have Tom Cruise versus AI. It's just not. It's not an interesting premise to me. So
unless this was like a quasi sequel to Stealth, I'm not interested.
And even that had a B movie campiness, whereas this is dead serious and every dollar is thrown at it.
Bro, Stealth is long as fuck too.
It is.
I love that movie for the failure that it is.
But I watched No Time to Die the other day just to see, which I hated, just to see if I was too harsh on that. And I still have major problems with that. And I do say that this Mission Impossible at least isn't as bad as No Time to Die because it doesn't totally disrespect the franchise and the character. But just like that, we're now encroaching on such self-seriousness that there's very little fun. Yeah. There's very little fun in this movie. There's very little humor.
Well, does this have I'm going to only guess this has an exponential John Wick 3 issue where it knows there's a part 2. And so you get that. Yep. That half-assed fucking ending, which is just like, we'll wrap it up real quick for you, but just be aware that this will be unwrapped at the beginning of the next movie.
Absolutely, and it's a long haul to get to a very unsatisfying conclusion, and it has such an extended
because it's not a real conclusion.
It's not. It's a placeholder, and it's not like a good placeholder where you go, shit, I can't wait to see how that resolves itself. I really don't give a fuck how it resolves it at this point. I really don't.
That was one of the reasons I thought John Wick 3 was such a... I won't say it's a bad movie, but that was one of the reasons that it is not as good as it could have been, was because it knew there was a 4th movie and it knew that it needed an ending, but it was a non-ending.
I do want to give credit, though, to one person in the movie. I mean, Cruise is hardworking as always. That goes without saying. the other characters come on, they do their thing. But Haley Atwell is a great addition to this, and she actually has chemistry with Cruise, which I didn't think Rebecca Ferguson does. It's her Isla Faust character, the MI6 assassin. I don't think she's very well cast, but I thought that Haley Atwell, who's not only easy on the eyes, but is very good as an actress.
Yeah, I like her.
And as a character in the film. So, nice addition. I wish they could have figured out a little bit more to do with her. But it's leading somewhere. But then again, am I invested enough to see another one? I don't know.
What do you think about second? Because this is basically on par. It's a little under, but this has been not a good year. So this is on par, I'd say, with the last Mission Impossible.
It's about box office.
Yeah. Do you think this has a huge drop off then second weekend?
Yeah, I do, because it's so. It's so heavily self-important. It's so long. It's not the summer blast that you're looking. It's not Top Gun. Is the best way I can say it.
Let me ask you something else about this, because I think box office studios are fucking weird right now. Obviously, there's a big strike going on. There's they don't. It feels like for a second there in the 2010s, it felt like they nailed it. They formulaically knew what the fuck everyone wanted to see, and once COVID hit. After that, they weren't quite too sure, and now it's obvious they have no fucking idea what they're doing. Did they just help themselves by part 1 and part 2 shooting back to back? Now it doesn't fucking matter, right? There is a next one after this. Regardless, this cannot sync this.
No, they've already, I think, mostly shot.
Is that not the reason they did this?
Yeah, I think that
I know, that's what I'm saying.
They thought, Paramount was drunk off the success of Top Gun, so let's throw money at it. I mean, Cruise could
There's nothing left. I mean, look, they put out these Transformers movies, and they don't do very well. They don't do that much. Like, nobody has anything that's doing very well, and Marvel is cratered. Almost everything has fallen through at this point. It's almost like they want to keep making the movies they used to make, but they don't know how to make them anymore.
Well, you haven't invested in any new actors, new stars, new talent. So what's the draw? I mean, how many directors do you go see their work? And even if they have work that you love, then they get into the machine of the Marvel machine and they become bland, and there's no difference between a Ryan Coogler Marvel movie or somebody else's.
Yep. Usually they quit. They don't actually make the movies.
No,
they actually hire name directors. They just won't work with them because it's impossible to work there.
Yeah, and so I just think that this is a big letdown for me, because this was probably the most anticipated movie this summer, and I'm really.
But what does number 2 do now? That's my. I mean, the box office is bad now. We're guaranteed a future of shit. Obviously, we're guaranteed a part 2 to this. And people didn't really like part 1. They're not going to be able to save a part 2. They're not going to be able to change it drastically to make it a better movie or anything. They're going to wind up with what they got.
The people I've talked to, it's all negative word of mouth as well.
No one else can work on it. With all the strikes and stuff, they can't really do very much of anything to them to fix any of this stuff. Their pipeline's totally fucking clogged with shit. This is going to be crazy. Like, next year's going to be nuts.
Yeah, very bad for the whole state of the industry. But this was shot during COVID. The budget's $290 million. I have no idea. It's going to make money, but this is going to definitely be viewed ultimately as a disappointment in the U.S., at least. All right, let's move on.
It might not make money.
Let's talk about Renfield. I want to talk about this Nicolas Cage flick. Renfield. Sorry, Renfield. I hate
whatever the hell it is.
Maybe that's why this movie didn't make shit. Directed by Chris McKay, the guy behind Tomorrow War, which I thought was a really good, fun little movie. I was looking forward to this because I am a big Nicolas Cage fan, and once again, he was the best part of the movie.
He's great.
Hands down. I
don't understand why the movie wasn't just him.
Why did this movie
I know. I just wanted to see him. I wanted to see him the whole time. More Nicolas Cage, please. More Nicolas Cage as Dracula. It's fucking awesome.
Not only that, more of their relationship together. Why was this all the interesting parts had already happened in this movie? They give you a very brief look at it, but the story that they decided to tell...
It was a young adult love story. That's what it is, right? And so it really didn't pan out very well, mainly because the people in this aren't really young adults.
Or funny.
I don't know that it has to be funny necessarily, but it was certainly light, but it wasn't... I don't know. Like, I'm with you on this. I think this was the wrong story to be told out of this. Obviously, Nicolas Cage outshined everyone on it. He was super interesting, very fun to watch. And then, Nicholas Hoult was just average. And Awkwafina, I'll give it up to her and maybe the director, Chris McKay, on this. And that the fight sequences, she was actually pretty good in them, but they were unbelievable. Like, why is she could fucking do everything Renfield could do. Like when they, come on, remember the action sequence in the hotel or whatever? Or the apartment building, whatever the fuck it was. Like, she just knocked the shit out of everybody. And he was like running around doing his superhero stuff, but his stuff was like, he had to work so hard, it felt like, to do the things that he was doing. Like, he was making bad choices and everything, and she was well trained, I guess. Maybe that was the whole point of it. I don't know, but it just didn't make any sense. Like, she was just killing full-on like cops who were just, saddled up with gear and all kinds of shit. She's just shooting them left and right, killing everybody in the unstoppable force of death. I was like, I guess, like, why should she need Renfield? Just fucking go kill Dracula. What's going on?
It's her Michelle Yeoh moment. But I just thought that the movie, I'm not an Awkwafina fan, and she's, I guess, serviceable in the role, but they're cast way too old for, I really think, what you were saying.
Yes, that's what I think.
And not only that...
It's not a young adult thing, but they play it like a young adult
I didn't think they had any chemistry. Did you think they had chemistry at all?
No, not at all. And half that I'll put... look, I like Nicholas Hoult a lot. I agree. I don't think Awkwafina is very interesting to watch on screen at all. Like, she doesn't emote very well. If
right.
at all.
No, you're right. That's exactly right. And it's just dialogue. Like, she's almost like rehearsed dialogue and just reciting it to me. That's, she's waiting to talk. I find her unctuous. I can't describe it either way, but I did think that the movie did have a very odd mix of laughs here and then excessive gore. So I didn't really know what are you trying to appeal to here, the horror crowd or the comedy crowd? Because I thought they didn't do either successfully. Yeah. And put this in terms of movies that came before it that reminded me of it was Vampire in Brooklyn, which I actually, even though that movie's a fucking tank, thought was more successful than this is, at least in trying to accomplish what it sets out to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what you're most looking at here is like a Warm Bodies type thing. Obviously, if you're talking about Nicholas Hoult. Which is a million times
way better
movie than this, but it's also it's also 10 years old at this point. Like, how much younger were the actors in that? Whereas Nicholas Hoult was 10 years younger in that movie. It works as a young adult film. And this does not. And that movie had a lot of heart in it. Obviously, I just feel like there's no heart in this.
It's a soulless creation.
It's a product of its time, is what I would say about it, unfortunately.
Very forgettable. It's available right now on Peacock streaming for free.
Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage had a lot of heart in it. I'll throw that out there.
As always, he puts his all into everything.
That dude delivers, yeah. Because I think I texted you when we were watching this. Yeah, more Nicolas Cage, please. That's all I wanted to watch when I watched this movie was Nicolas Cage, especially after you see him for the first time. It's like, fuck.
There's two things that we can always use more of. One is more cowbell. The second is more Nicolas Cage. Yeah. Can always use more of those. All right, let's move on and talk about The Flash. This is the notorious bomb of the summer. Big expectations. I personally thought that Michael Keaton returning as Batman was going to get a lot of people excited, and that's not been the case.
It got me excited until I had word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you that I was going to see this movie not because it was a Flash movie, but more because it was Batman Returns Part 2.
A lot of people said that, yeah.
And when I saw this, I realized from the opening sequence, let's put aside Ezra Miller's problems outside of the movie. I'm talking about strictly in the movie. I find him to be visually uninteresting to look at. I think he is a good actor, but I think that his character and what he's doing here, it's almost like on the spectrum Barry Allen. It bothers the shit out of me. The way he treated people in this movie, I hate it.
Barry Allen's supposed to be really smart, and he does not come off as smart to me. Or intellectual, I should say.
Also, my problem is this whole time-traveling element with young Barry. Young Barry, to me, was like Handicap Marty in Back to the Future 2.
I didn't see
where he,
any
you know
of
what I'm
that.
talking about? Where he finds the younger version of himself and he can't put on the jacket.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's like an hour and a half of that, and I can't. That got old real fucking quick to me.
I mean, I saw a good amount of the Flash CW show, and it was really good for a while until it got until it wasn't. But that was like 5 or 6 seasons in before it wasn't good anymore. Like it was really good, and they did the Flashpoint stuff. They did going back in time and all this type of stuff. And they did it really well. Like I really enjoyed the hell out of that. So I was hyped about this, but hear from me what you said, from a lot of people said, and I recently saw on Twitter the Nicolas Cage moment in this when he's seen all the different Superman stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing can prepare you, or at least me anyways, for hearing the CGI is really bad. And I thought that's interesting. And then people would come to the support of the film like, well, it's supposed to be like that, this and that. And you think that's weird that people would feel the need to, come to the aid of the movie. Like, how bad could the CGI be? Like, in my mind, I couldn't think it would be that bad. Bro, that was unbelievable to see it.
I wanted to see that movie,
like,
though.
It's so
Tell me you didn't want to see that Nicolas Cage movie where he fights the spider, though. Come on.
Not really, because that scene's nothing. It's absolutely nonsense. It's just noise.
The whole movie's fucking noise.
I'd love to see the movie, but I would guess that it is, because all those cameos and stuff that they had in there, Christopher Reeve, all of it, they look so fucking it looks like a video game. It looks so bad. It's unbelievably bad. And the Nicolas Cage fighting the spider is just like, it's like some 13-year-old's dream of that, of hearing the Kevin Smith story and then going, I imagined it as this. And you think, well, there's no story there. There's nothing there. All those cameos, and I can only imagine now what the Batman cameo is like in this. It's just wasted.
Well, I gotta say,
all those cameos were wasted.
Did you see any of the parts with Bruce Wayne where Michael Keaton's playing the Bruce Wayne character?
No, I still haven't seen any of that.
Okay, that is probably more disappointing than the most aspects, because his character, to me, in the way that they... let me start by saying this. Let me preface it by saying the set design is beautiful. They get the 1989 mansion, the area where Knox is walking through and say, he's the king of the Wicker people. This is like all of that stuff. The kitchen where he had the date with Vicky Vale, all done perfectly. However, the character, from the way they dress Michael Keaton, who wears these Johnny Depp neck scarves, like neck handkerchiefs, like he's a British fucking French painter, and he's got long hair, and he's a recluse, and everything he's saying betrays the character that I grew up with. So I'm thinking, you don't even know who this person. This is now it's just bullshit.
What I'm hearing is Fat Thor.
Yeah, basically, it's a depressed Bruce Wayne who is this recluse.
I'm so tired of these characters when they do this to these characters like this. I'm so
it's
fucking
just not
tired
a very good
this.
reimagining is my best way to say this, is the best way to get that across. Now, some of the good stuff, when they get Batman fighting in this, it looks fucking great. He is very involved in this movie. I did like all of that. When the Flash is doing his thing with Batman, that's always cool. To see the Ben Affleck cameo and the other Bat cameos is very cool. Are we gonna? Do you know about the ending yet? Have you talked like the final shot and all that kind of stuff? Are you privy to any of this?
I don't know.
Okay,
but
so maybe we'll
feel
wait.
free to do whatever you want.
Well,
I don't
let me
care.
give you a spoiler. So I'm going to say spoiler right now. Skip ahead 1 minute if you don't want to hear this. So at the very end of the movie, Barry Allen is there, and he is back into his real timeline. And Bruce Wayne pulls up, and out of the car steps Bruce Wayne. So my stepson, who is
It's Val Kilmer, who's
19, looks at me and says, "Who's the Indian guy?" And I said, "That's George Clooney." So
I was just gonna say, is it Clooney?
It was Clooney, which it is,
up.
and I thought that was the most clever.
That is actually fucking awesome.
I thought that was the most clever point of the entire movie that they got.
Did he have nipples? Did he have nipples?
No,
on
but
his
he did.
bat
But he
suit?
did have a very nicely formed ass. It was very, very formed on there. So, but no, but I was like Indian.
That's George
guy.
Clooney, all right. Yeah. Okay. That's.
It was endearing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Then that does not make a good movie.
No, it doesn't. But it's a fun way to end the movie. So, end of spoilers there. We'll move on after that. But I do want to revisit this when you get a chance to watch the full thing, as opposed to just significant chunks of it, to get your hot take on it, because I want to make sure I'm not being an asshole and I haven't lost touch, because I was ready to like this movie, and
it's been the same from everyone, so I don't know.
First act in, I thought, man, we're really in trouble, especially when you're making so many references to Back to the Future. You're pulling me out of the superhero movie.
Oh, really?
Oh, man, you got to, dude, to the point where it's annoying. There's too many things going on, with the lightning and it's too much. Mm-hmm. So, you'll see down the line, but as a negative, do not see The Flash, as far as I'm concerned. All right, let's move on and talk about In the Name of the King, this director's cut.
You want to do that?
Yeah, let's talk about this. I do want to talk about this movie here.
I want to hear No Hard Feelings, but all right, we'll do In the Name of the King, because I recently watched this. You actually turned me on to this. There's a Blu-ray extended cut of this, which has I want to say 20 to 30 more minutes.
I think it's like 40 minutes longer.
I know. I'm trying to think now if it was 40. It was substantially longer of a film. It's already a long movie.
It was 2 hours, I think, and 10 minutes in the theater, or 2 hours and 20 minutes in the theaters.
Yeah. And now it's like 2.5 hours. I don't know. There's a lot of in credits.
This is the Jason Statham Uwe Boll film from 2000.
Jason Statham, Uwe Boll, Ron Perlman, Ray Liotta, Lily Sobieski, John Rhys Davis, Claire Forlani, Kristanna Loken, Matthew Lillard. It's fucking kind of a Burt Reynolds. It's kind of a hell of a cast.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah, I know. It's a hell of a cast, and the cast is actually, I think, used really well. I think this is one of Uwe Boll's better movies.
It is.
Maybe I'm crazy. Hey,
no, you're not.
Maybe I've just been so soured on modern film so much that going back and watching this. But I remember originally seeing the, and I can't tell you what exactly is different between this and the theatrical cut, and I don't think you can necessarily either.
Nope.
But I remember liking it, but watching this director's cut, I loved it. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie, from the beginning to the middle to the end, to all the ridiculousness that I must have been cut out but is added back into this. You have the bad creatures, which are like orc things, acting like Keystone Cops, and like just ridiculous, like just being like Gremlins, Gremlins 2, just being completely ridiculous. So like lighting themselves on fire and shooting themselves at the enemy instead of, putting a boulder in tar or something and shooting them out of the catapult. They shoot themselves out. Just fucking nonsense, right? And the movie starts off so seriously and winds up like just having weird shit like that. And they just, for a moment, takes you out of the movie, but I don't know. I don't know why I liked it. I just did.
You don't have to be embarrassed, my friend. I recommend it.
I honestly can't explain at this point, because really that should be a huge complaint, but it just wasn't. Like the flow of the film and the way that they introduce all the actors and all the different characters and stuff, I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
Here I am talking shit about Mission Impossible being 2 hours and 45 minutes. This movie's about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. I sent you the link to watch this, and I only did because I remember that I always wanted to like this movie. I like Statham.
I bought the Blu-ray.
Oh, did you watch the Blu-ray? Okay, so
I bought the Blu-ray, so I own this.
Well done then. Yeah. Because it's worth owning.
I had to get it.
And I think the original cut's about, like I said, 2 hours 10, and this is around 2:45. And the major difference is, like you said, that they have a lot more quirky sidebars is the best way to kind of describe it.
And I think the opening is a lot longer too. I think the first act is quite a bit longer.
Yes, when Ron Perlman comes to visit.
You see him with his family, and when Ron Perlman comes over, and there's a lot of like family, like familiar, like visiting, and like people sitting around tables and talk. I don't know. There's something about movies like Sword and Sandals movies from this era that just don't get made anymore. And this felt like, to me, this was like if they had made like a Conan movie in the 90s and had just spent fucking wads of money on it, this is what you would have wound up with. And decided like, we're not going to do CGI and shit, right? We're just gonna spend wads of money. It's Roger Corman's fucking producing. And we got, we actually have a budget. And that's what this movie felt like to me. I don't know. Maybe perhaps that's a lot of its charm.
I love sword and sorcery films. I love the fact that every scene had a famous face in it. And it was camp, but these people were taking it serious. Burt Reynolds actually gives a decent performance. Ron Perlman's trying in this movie. He's very good. Matthew Lillard is at level 150, but at least he's doing something. So I have to give...
He's a slimy... Yeah, he's the most overacting person in the whole thing. But he's playing a slimy character. So.
Literally slobbering his lines, but I love it in this movie. So everybody is giving it their all. The production looks great. The money is on the screen here. The difference really, like I said, though, is that in this version, I didn't get bored even though it was longer. Does that make sense? Whereas the other version, I got bored in and it was shorter. I can't explain that, though.
No, I have no... Yeah, I thought the same thing. I kept watching this movie and it's going on. And there was a moment, I think about 2 hours in, where I thought, oh my God... There's another fucking, or an hour 40. There was a moment when I looked at the clock and thought, there's another fucking hour in this movie. Like, this is, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be rough. And it was not.
It flew by.
It picked right the hell back up. And I was like, damn, I'm glad this movie is fucking almost 3 hours long.
And it's a relic of its
First
time.
time in a long time.
It's definitely a relic. It's strange that Statham took this role. It's not his natural, he's not the natural choice for the role.
Right. This is late 2000, so everyone knows, 2007. So it's not super old, like I say, but it has that. You agree that this has like
I know what you're saying.
A mid 90s feel to it. Really, it does. Maybe possibly even an early 90s. It feels like it's straight out of the 80s, but it's more advanced. It's too advanced to be from the 80s.
Do you know what it's very similar to? Is the Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2000?
Yes.
To that,
Yeah.
but actually, more executed on a better level, to more proficiently. And a lot of that has to do with that cast and the fact that they must have filmed every page of the script. I don't think on this version they left a page out of the script.
Hey man, they pulled a Clint Eastwood, man. That script was all white pages.
Yeah, it was all first draft.
300 fucking pages of them. And they fucking filmed all. They're like, this is a perfect movie.
I will say,
don't change a page.
The very opening scene is still baffling and starts off where you have to orient yourself very
There's
quickly.
More than that's baffling, but yes.
But you have to get oriented so quickly that Ray Liotta's seducing this lady and they're in this kingdom, and then there's like, as they're talking, there's establishing shots too. So you're thinking, is this edited in some sort of non-linear fashion where I'm supposed to be? Is this a flashback? What's going on here? But as a work,
well, this has to be Lily Sobieski's like one of her last mainstream movies, right? If you want to call this mainstream. I have not seen her in forever, but let alone like 5 years before this, I can't really think of much that she's been in.
I think she's somewhere hanging out with the girl from Save the Last Dance. What was her name?
Oh yeah, Julia Stiles.
There you go. I think somewhere they're hanging out in a
probably
collective.
Right.
They bought a condo together with their Save the Last Dance money and the Glass House money. But yeah, so I found this to be a really enjoyable watch, and I think it's Uwe Boll's most accomplished work, which isn't saying much, but I do think that if you watch this and you even, if you look at the worst movie that Roland Emmerich's ever done, which is a lot of them, but I'll say 10,000 BC.
It's better than Almost Any.
It's not. It's not that far from this version of In the Name of the King, though.
I'll throw you this. This is an easy fucking movie to watch. I think I could watch this again, relatively soon,
huge
which is
compliment.
a huge deal. Like, that's ridiculous to me. I don't know why this is such a smooth movie. Maybe because it just doesn't try to be anything more than it is, but it's not less than what it is either. It's not just some action nonsense and stuff. There's a real story going on. There's a plot. There's a point to it. There's characters who feel things, who are manipulating each other, trying to do things. But it's just so fucking easy to watch.
I think that if they put this on Netflix, that this would get seen by a huge audience now. If they just release this as is on Netflix, because these older films
I don't think anyone will like. I think it's just us, man.
Yeah, you might be right. I think
I don't think very many people would still like this. I think people will watch this and go, "This is dog shit."
I got to be honest. We run in circles of film people, and I've never met two other people besides us that paid to see Alone in the Dark in a theater. So.
I don't know anyone that likes Uwe Boll. Well, actually, that's not true. I do know a couple people who like Uwe Boll, but they also like the dog shit that we like. So I can't. You know, there's no accounting for taste. You know, I don't.
I did watch Far Cry the other night, which I hadn't seen in a long time. It's not bad. I actually kind of like it.
I know that was a good one.
Yeah, I do like that one.
The Rampage ones are quite a bit of a step down, but the Far Cry is surprisingly good, and I have not seen Alone in the Dark in a while, and I have that unrated director's cut of that I'm dying to watch. And you said you watched the theatrical cut not too long ago, and it was okay still?
Yeah, it actually played fine. It's got that first 15-minute opening act. Well, first of all,
it's got Christian Slater, so
Alone in the Dark has the most baffling credit scroll where they try to like get you in, oriented with the film once again. Uwe Boll has a problem where his movies just start and the exposition is so
because they're video game movies and they don't know how to put in the video game. They don't know how to switch over from the video game story into the movie
which
story.
Is exactly the problem with Alone in the Dark, because it starts off with that prologue and it makes no sense, and then the Christian Slater part starts, and that's like a 15-minute action sequence. So the movie holds up. Tara Reid is absolutely atrocious in it, and the sets are so thoroughbred.
But I love her so much.
I mean, his office and her office.
She's so bad. Dude, the Sharknado movies are
classic.
Made from fucking
I love them.
Tara Reid and
Ian Ziering.
What's his name?
Just overacting. Yeah. It's his Harrison Ford moment. You know, I love the Sharknado movies.
It's his only moment. Just listen to him talk about any of that shit.
Listen to him talk about himself.
He's hot on it.
He's hot on himself.
He's hot on it, yeah.
All right, let's move on and talk about, what's the next one here we got? Oh, No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings. Tell me about this, because you told me this is terrible. I want to hear the ins and the outs. I love Jennifer Lawrence.
So do I.
I feel like she's been making horrible decisions lately.
And she has
no idea where the fuck her career is at or where her head is at. I don't know what's going on with her. It's not a good movie?
It's not only not a good movie, it feels like it was a different movie that was cut and shaped into this movie. There are so many loose ends and odd motivations that don't line up with what you're seeing the characters do that I felt like this whole thing was just dumped into the marketplace, that this was a bit of a lost project. So I think that the fact it's making money is that people are starved for comedies. It's a good date movie choice, and people like Lawrence. She's great as an act. I mean, the problem is this, too. She's funny, but she's such a good actress that those moments in a comedy that get serious, that you're not supposed to take serious, she sells. So you kind of get into it, and then you realize, like, this is not a real person, or like the logic doesn't make sense. The big scene, the big gross out scene, or the big kind of outrageous scene is this fight scene she has on the beach where she's completely nude, and it's full frontal nudity, and it's amusing for a minute, but it goes on way too long. It doesn't make sense for the character, the situation. It's just not a funny movie. They don't support her with anybody that's very funny. The kid's not funny. Matthew Broderick and his wife sure as hell aren't funny. So she's left kind of alone and swimming and left to do a lot of the hard work here. And ultimately, I didn't care about the character. I didn't care about the story. And I just didn't think it was very amusing. And honestly, if this story was flipped, it'd be fucking creepy. If this was a fucking old guy whose parents, and that whole thing, it's creepy.
I know they've ruined these type of stories for me as well, for with all the political stuff. But it sounds like you're saying it's too mechanical.
It's just not funny. It's just I saw it with a group of people in a theater that wanted to laugh on a Saturday night. It was a lot of dates and a lot of people with couples, and you could feel the vibe. They wanted to get into it. They were laughing at things that were mildly amusing in the beginning, and as it goes along, there was a deadening sound, and there's nothing worse than when you're watching a comedy and it's just quiet for long periods. And that was what was happening here. And the supporting characters, like I said, there's a best friend who's pregnant and her quirky kind of stoner surfer boyfriend husband, and that's falling flat. And then there's a sequence. It just felt like there was more to the story than they cut out to get it down to something releasable. And I just don't think that this movie is the movie that's going to shepherd back in the raunchy R-rated comedy like they were trying to tout it to be before it came out.
That's unfortunate, because I really thought I liked the idea of this. I liked the trailers for it. And I thought, boy, but apparently they weren't holding anything back in those trailers. And there's some actors out there who are just the way for me, the way I would look at like a really good actor, someone who's in the moment. And they're undeniably in the moment. Like there's no camera there filming them. They Lawrence. Are in the moment. That's you kidding me? Yeah, hell yeah, it is. I think I can. I think it's far more prevalent for female actresses. For actresses, I don't know how, whatever. They do it better than men, but Tom Cruise does it. There's plenty of Tom Hanks, any really great actor or actress does that, and she's there. She does it. Like she sells everything she's ever been in. It's pretty incredible, but
I think
it's a comedy.
I think
it's a comedy.
The character she's playing would have been funny as a supporting character in a better movie. Do you know what I mean?
She's not done a lot of comedies.
And she's good in comedic parts.
Name me a couple of comedies.
But this movie embarrasses her. She can be. She has good comedic timing, but this movie leaves her out there hanging and kind of embarrassed. And she's a producer on it, so she has to have some of the blame too in realizing that this material...
So she thought it was funny.
The material isn't good, and it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't... The logic of the characters doesn't add up.
It just... have not made a very good sex comedy since I would say for a decade.
Easily. Maybe since what?
Going past 2010, I'd say past 2012, I think that you're fucked, really. And that was coming to an end. But, late 2000s was pretty prime for a lot of stuff. Early 2010s, I'd say they're still there, but they're fading. And 2015 and after is just fucking vacant.
I'd say the last raunchy R-rated comedy that I really loved was the 21 Jump Street film, the 22 Jump Street, and I think Ted as well, the Ted movies. So,
and Ted, sure, but Ted was 2012. I mean, I think
Ted 22 Jump Street was 2014, and Ted 2 was 2015, and ever since then, we've had what's going on in Hollywood, and that's. Comedies have gone away,
but they thinned out even by I mean, I agree. They thinned out by 2015. After that, they were pretty much done for. I mean, I think of like the 80s and the 90s is really the prime time for those, and then the 2000s is pretty fucking good, to be honest with you. And
they just petered out.
We got nothing now.
Yeah, this is
nothing now. That last American Pie wasn't really all that great, and I can't imagine the next one they're making, if they make it at this point, would be worth a shit at all.
I think that these remakes of franchises and things we saw, nostalgia movies, are going to come to a screeching halt after this summer, and IPs and original ideas are going to have to be looked at.
Maybe. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know how they're going to deal with the people that they have currently in charge of stuff. They're going to have to fire them or something because they're not going to want to do this. So it's going to be crazy.
I mean, I'm sounding like I'm down on everything in the theaters, but I just want to reiterate, I do give Mission Impossible 7 a recommendation for people that want to just go be blown away at proficiency in action sequences, but outside of that, it is a long, talky movie that is very slow. Also, the Flash was, I do not recommend. Stay away from that at all costs. Highly disappointing, except for a cool cameo here or there. And No Hard Feelings.
They're already gone, though. You can't see these movies anymore.
Well, they're playing.
These are gone.
I think they're in hotel rooms, and they're going to be probably available on digital here any day.
Sure, but streaming is almost like if you pay for the streaming service, you might as well watch the shit. As far as I'm concerned, like you're not missing out. You're only getting what the fuck you paid for. So
yeah, the Flash. I would never watch the Flash again, and I watch movies repeatedly.
I'll watch it once. I still haven't seen it yet, so I'll watch both. I'll watch No Hard Feelings. I'll watch these still. But I feel you with never watching them again. I may only watch them once, but I haven't seen them yet.
Even Mission Impossible 7, I can't imagine a situation where I would rewatch that. And I've rewatched that series pretty constantly.
If it's that heavy...
it's not fun.
Then
it's just like No Time to Die. I mean, I own it. I've watched it one time in the theater, and I've never rewatched it. And I own it just...
Yeah, those Daniel Craig movies are... or the Daniel Craig Bond movies are so fucking heavy-handed by the time that era ends. It's just wow.
From where they started, and it was so novel when they started off that.
Casino Royale is so fucking good, man. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, even Quantum of Solace I have reevaluated because at least it's short and it's light. You know, it's not Skyfall, it's not Spectre, it's not these brooding epic masterpieces that feel like I'm opening up an old book. It's like, goodness, here we go again, you know?
An old book, yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, let's move on and talk about trailers on tonight's show. I want to start off by talking about Challengers. This is the Lucia Guadagnino, I think that's how you say his name, the Italian filmmaker who just did that
Luca? Must be
Luca. He did that movie with Timothée Chalamet last year, and he's done a couple other films. I think he did Call Me By Your Name, and really some highly acclaimed artsy films. This looks like...
He did the Suspiria remake.
There you go, yeah, which wasn't bad. I mean, I actually thought it wasn't bad for what it was.
The original is so good, but yeah, you're right. The remake's not actually bad.
I've never seen the original, but I know the storyline.
Oh, the original's so good.
But that one, the new one or the newer one, created a mood, a vibe that I did dig on. But this trailer about tennis stars and a love triangle, and is it a sports drama? Is it a sexual thriller?
What is this made? What is it? Who is this for? Yeah, I'm watching this thinking, is this a fucking true story? You know, this reminded me of that fucking Wimbledon. What was that Kristen Dunst fucking movie? With what's his name?
With the
priest, you know, the guy.
Priest.
Oh, God.
It's funny you called him Priest instead of Vision, but I know Paul Bettany.
Because that's better.
Paul Bettany.
Yeah, Paul Bettany. It reminds me of that, which that came out of nowhere, and I just thought, who the fuck is this for? And no one watched that. So who the fuck is this for?
Well, not only that, I saw this trailer before Mission Impossible, and it's a screening full of I don't want to say adults, but people 35 and up mostly. And we're watching this trailer, and everybody's snickering at it because it's like everybody in this trailer are so young too that they're playing too old. You know what I mean? We talked about Holt and...
But it's like a threesome shit. Like, oh, my girlfriend and this and that. Like the one guy obviously got, but she's like she's the fucking top dog. She's the woman, but then she's not. I don't. The trailer, when the trailer goes like a few years have passed, I just thought, oh my fucking God.
I thought, this is the kind of role that Sharon Stone would have been playing if this was 1993. This is not for Zendaya. She does not have.
You know what? It would have been more interesting though. She at least would have been trying to kill someone.
At least would have looked like she was trying. Zendaya looks like she's bored in this fucking movie.
The two guys look like they should be dating each other.
Exactly.
It's fucking weird, man.
I'm telling you.
Worst
trailer of the year.
Weird.
If you want to see a terribly cut together trailer in a story that you're just scratching your head at and going, why did somebody get behind this and put money into this? Is this, like I said, is it a sexual thriller or is it a sports drama?
What does it mean? Well, Challengers. What does that mean? Is that the two guys? Is that her? Who's the Challengers? Who's challenging what? Who? Anything. She plays... The story is basically she is this tennis pro, right, who hurts her leg, and so now she has to become a coach. But while she was a tennis pro, she met these two other tennis players, apparently, and they all had a threesome, and then she wound up with one of them, and those two guys were friends, and then now she's coaching, I'm guessing, I can't really make out the thing, but she's coaching her husband, boyfriend, whatever they are at this point, and he's now the tennis pro, and she has to take second fiddle to him. And that's the fucking trailer.
I'm telling you, this should have come out in 1988. It should have had James Spader and Rob Lowe in these roles, and I would have bought it.
Okay, and I would have watched that.
Because that's what that storyline sounds like.
That would have been much better. Because you know what? Those dudes would have chewed the fucking scenery.
Yeah, where I get nothing out of this trailer. Nobody in this seems involved. There's no charisma coming off of anybody. Even the attractive Zendaya looks bored in this, and I just don't buy their age or anything about this.
Well, they play the men. The two guys in this that play together are very like boyish. Like I said, they should be dating each other. Really, yeah. They come off as like they're too good of friends. Like. And it's like this rivalry thing, but it feels like what's the right? Like there might be something more to this might be not
you're right.
You know what I mean? It's weird.
I got to give a benefit of the doubt on that. I will say that, but as what it's selling, it looks awful, just fucking awful.
Yeah. Uninteresting.
Let's talk about A Haunting in Venice, which is, I think, the third official entry of this Hercules Poirot series that
Yes, Agatha Christie.
had Kenneth Branagh now. I
movies.
think has directed. This is going to be the second or third he's directed. I know he directed at least one of the previous ones that he's appeared in, and I didn't see the second one.
Did he direct both?
Did he direct both of my?
Did he
I
not?
thought he didn't direct the last one.
Well, he did the what was the one? The Johnny Depp one
On the train.
Yeah,
and then
yeah. How bad is this that I can't fucking remember?
It's
this
like
shit.
Strangers on.
What was that one? Was that Strangers on the Train?
It's
Is that
Murder
what
on
it
a
was
Train.
called? Oh, Murder on the Orient
There
Express.
you go. And then you had Death in Venice or Death in the Nile.
Did he direct this?
He did.
Yeah, Death in the Nile, which I really liked.
He did not direct Death in the Nile.
And he directed Death
he
in
did
the
direct
Nile.
Death in the Nile. You're right.
And he directed Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah, so I was gonna say he directed all of these. Yeah, so I liked both of them. I really liked Death on the Nile. I wasn't a huge fan of the Orient Express, and I feel like this movie again might lose me. I really like these mystery movies. The older I get, the geezer pleaser I am. And especially with these murder mystery things, I don't know. I find them easy to watch. But this trailer is fucking weird. Like, first of all, he's not in it until like the end of the trailer, and then it pulls this bullshit like he sees a ghost behind him in the fucking mirror. Like, what?
The thing about this trailer is it looks very generic all the way through, and then when they do the big reveal that he's in it, like, ta-da, you go, who gives a shit, and why is this character in this world?
But who else is in this? We have Michelle Yeoh and who the fuck is in this movie? Nobody. Nobody's in this fucking movie. Like, at least the other movies had other big actors who were good actors to play off of him. This movie has no one.
Yeah, it doesn't have the big name cast that the other one did, and that's probably because they needed to minimize the budget. I think the last one cost over $90 million, and they really cut back
and didn't do so
well. I mean,
well.
you say.
But this does feel like Blumhouse, produces Agatha Christie, doesn't it?
It
feels very weird.
Less than the other two. That's why I was very surprised that it was even part of the series and directed by, Branagh once again, released by 20th Century Fox, because it does seem tamed down. And I bet they haven't listed what the budget is as of yet, but I think the last one cost $90 million. I would be surprised if this cost half of that. Because of the grosses.
Oh yeah, the Death on the Nile looked even Orient Express, you could see budget there. Like I say, this looks like Blumhouse. This looks like $30 million.
Yeah, so I'm not too excited about this, but I did want to talk about it because I thought that the trailer was at least interesting in that it was playing almost a whodunit with the trailer. Like all of a sudden he pops up and I'm gonna fix this. And I know you weren't big on the Knives Out mystery movie, the last one.
Oh, I hate both of them.
I didn't like the first one, but I really did like that second one. So I think as I'm aging too, I'm getting a little bit more kind to these. Although I always did like Clue. I was a big Clue fan.
Yeah.
Which this looks like it could be mocking at one point. Do you think this is going to have some sort of comedic element to it? Or do you think this is going to be just straight
I don't understand it. How could it? Like, it's so the horror looking, and then it has. I don't think it'll have. Well, you know what? Most of these do have a little bit of comedic stuff to it, but I feel like this is overarchingly horror, and it's weird to see that in this. Like, this is not. I don't know. Did Agatha Christie write horror type stuff?
I didn't think so. I didn't know this was part of the series.
I don't know. I guess.
All right, well, let's talk about our last film for the evening, which is, will you say the name of this movie? I can still not get it right after we've tried like 5 times.
The Voyage of the Mimi. No. Last Voyage of the Demeter. Demeter?
The Demeter. I mean, this is a trailer.
The Dementor. That's Harry Potter.
Is it really? It started.
Yeah, the Dementors. That was Harry Potter.
I had no idea. I'm watching this trailer in the theater, and it's going along, and I thought, are we getting another Pirates of the Caribbean movie I didn't know about? Like, was there some sort of in production? And then it goes, and I thought, wow, am I not only uninterested in this? I want to pick apart that. Can we get a moratorium on using 90s rock in an acoustic version, slowed down? Stop with this. That was novel 10 fucking years ago. We are past that point. And all it does is, and it's so on the nose on this, with the world is a vampire, and you got what I presume is Dracula there on the fucking boat, and The special effects look good here. I think that there's some good jump scares probably abound in this movie because it looks like a good setting for it. But I can't imagine that this is going to keep my interest for 2 hours when it didn't really keep my interest for 3 minutes. What did you think about this trailer?
I thought this looks pretty good. I would watch this in a heartbeat. Yeah, I agree with you on the trailers, music stuff. I'm really sick and tired of that. But as far as a horror movie goes, taking people and putting them in a tight spot like a ship and turning vampires loose on them, yeah, I'd watch it. I'm sure it's going to be fun.
Is this based on anything existing, do you know? Or is this just, it's not a video game or a comic book or anything like that, do you know?
Yes, it's based on Dracula.
Okay.
Bram
So
Stoker's.
is this based on a Bram Stoker?
So it's loose. I'll say loosely based on it. It's based on a single chapter. There's like a captain's log in Bram Stoker's Dracula in the book, in the novel. You know,
yeah,
talking about
his actual text.
Right. There's like a captain's log of it. And so they took that and they turned it into a movie.
Is this the first time
whatever
that
they
it's
had
ever
to do
been
to
done?
do that.
Is that the first time this approach has been taken? I mean, I know you're a big horror aficionado.
Probably for this. I don't think anyone's used this out of the Bram. Yeah,
it's not like an old.
I mean, if there is a movie that exists like this, I don't
not an
know
old
of it.
1950s.
I guess there could be. It's
shit.
not like anyone could take the Bram Stoker Dracula and do whatever they want with it at this point. You know, it's like it's a pretty old fucking book. But I don't know of anyone that's done this personally. But vampires on ships like this, I feel like I've seen before.
You have.
I don't think that's like a new idea necessarily, and maybe because it was from the book. Maybe it was in the book.
It's also the beginning of Vampire in Brooklyn to bring that movie up once again.
Yes, I know. So that's what I'm saying. I've definitely seen this idea before. I don't think this is a new thing, but it's from. It is from the book, from Dracula.
There is source material to back it up. Okay, that's interesting.
Yes. But I imagine that they just made most of it up. I could imagine it made for a whole movie.
I just wonder what the box office prospects of this is because I didn't see too many familiar faces in it.
Probably small, but come on, this feels like a Screen Gems, you know. I'm missing that.
You're right. This does feel like Rogue Entertainment or Screen Gems or one of those kind of offshoot little companies, little B movies. Something that we would have gotten late summer, like Anaconda's Hunt for Blood Orchids or something like that. You know, those little ones that sometimes were real good fun, other times were awful. I mean, if you had to say the percentage of the Underworld series that you actually like, all out of the movies, are you serious? Even the Resident Evil, every single one,
except for the third one, with the Resident Evil. Sure. I'll say I like both of them, and that's it. No, I don't. I don't like them all. Resident Evil, I think the third one's surprisingly, actually, after I've rewatched them all, I think the third one's the worst one and should just be stricken from the fucking record because it's terrible. And I'd say the same for the Underworld movies, that the third one should just disappear. And other than that, they're great.
Well, it sounds like we won't be doing the third film in the series for those on our retros. We'll be staying away from that. And we will be returning soon with you guys. We want to thank you guys always for supporting us and to let you know we will be returning back with you with a retro of Mission Impossible 3 to continue our look at the third entry in major franchises throughout 2023. We've been doing this to coincide with the big movies in theaters, and since the latest Mission came out, we're going to give you guys that next. We want to thank you as always for joining us on these episodes. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to moviemavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!